Hey everybody, coming up on this edition of Sports Central. Well, for those of you suffering from the COVID-20, and when I say 20, I mean 20 extra pounds, we have Dr. Michelle Henne joining us today, along with Athletic Director for Polk County School System, Dan Talbot. We also have Kevin, I can never say this, Wasilewski and Ramsey, Watkins, state champions from Lakeland Christian Academy. Stick around, everybody, because we promise this show will be better than this introduction. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, and welcome to Sports Central. And yes, every once in a while you have one of those blooper days. I guess today is one of those days. Hi, I'm Mark Jackson. To my right, my co-host, Mr. Sam I Am Baker. Good to see you, Sam.
Good to see you. I'll have to talk to Mark at the end of the show to make sure this one ends up in the year in review.
Well, yeah, year in review, year in the trash can. We'll have to do that one. We have a lot of fun here at PGTV, and that's really what it's all about. Although sports is big business. In fact, it's our second largest industry here in the state of Florida, believe it or not. It is a lot of fun, and we have a lot of fun in Polk County. Of course, one of our largest industries here as well.
And definitely also the tourism industry and everything too. And speaking of, we have to give a big shout out to Days Inn of Lakeland for sponsoring this segment of Sports Central.
Well, very much so, and they've been great partners over the years. But, you know, we talked a little bit, at least I should say I talked a little bit about the COVID-20. Well, what the heck is that? I thought it was COVID-19. Not really. COVID-20 has to do with all of you folks out there that have gained 15, 20, 30 pounds over the sort of sequester or, you know, hibernation, whatever you want to call it. But you can get back into shape, just like Sam here.
Yeah. Exactly. I have. I have been gotten into great shape, I feel like, over the past few years. So I definitely gained a few through this past sequester, as you say, but yeah.
I actually lost 5 pounds over the last year.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even, you know, I rarely weigh myself. I just go to the gym, do my thing, eat right. What happens, happens. It is what it is, yeah. Well, our first guest, and a lot of you know who she is. She is sort of famous, not sort of, she is famous in the world of sports medicine, and a lot of funny stories, a lot of good stories, and we're going to talk with her in just a second. Her name is Dr. Michelle Henne with Releve Sports Medicine. I have a hard time putting these words together today. I'm glad I'm not in a spelling bee.
No brain sports today, but thank you so much, Dr. Henne, for coming on the show. Always great having you on. I feel like it's been too long since you've been here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was right around when UFC was in town when I was here last, back in 2020. So it's been at least 6 months or so.
Yeah, too long.
Honestly,
6 months
too long. Well, you've just been out and about. You're probably one of the busiest women that I know. You know, involved in Sam's going to get into the bare knuckle boxing deal.
Fighting championships, absolutely.
But I have to stay true to what what we were supposed to do, and part of that is the fact a lot of people, including Sam over here, have gained a couple of pounds over this COVID issue. And you know, everybody goes, oh, woe is me about the COVID thing. Well, there's a lot of good things that have come out of it, and not a whole lot, but there have been some good things that have come out of it. And, you know, Michelle, for people that are struggling with that, we're heading into spring. Spring kicks off officially. I believe it's on Saturday, the 20th. So, you know, they want to get back in those swimsuits and those bikinis and, you know, get outside, go to the beach, or preferably get on the water here in Polk County. What kind of advice for people that have not been the most active, probably a little sedentary over the last few months? I mean, you just jump right into it, or do you ease into it? What are your tips?
Absolutely, yeah. So what I have seen in clinic, which is what you don't want to be, is I have seen folks go from they've been working out regularly up through March of 2019, and then they've done nothing right? And so they went from 100 to 0, and they want to jump back in at 100. And those folks, when they're jumping back in, they are developing tendinitis, they're developing bursitis, they're having all of these different aches and pains that is preventing them from being able to continue to work and get that weight off. The other thing that I've seen is there's been just a huge transition. People have started working out differently. Just like they're working differently and they're doing all these other things differently, they're working out differently. And they may have changed from having gone to the gym, and now they're working out from home. Now they're bicycling, now they're running. Maybe they've transitioned that to a good walk around their neighborhood. The thing to know there is at what rate can we continue to progress? And realistically, we don't want to progress more than 10% per week. What does that look like? That looks like if we go from no walking till we decide we're going to start walking around the neighborhood, if we're looking at mileage over the course of a week, if that's 10 miles, maybe we're walking 2 miles a day on the days Monday through Friday. The next week, only bump it up to 11. Let's not go 10 and then 20, and then we're going to be running a marathon in the next month.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, it takes a while for your body to adapt, and to regain that muscle memory in the case of, certain sport, like water skiing. By the way, she's a pretty hot water skier.
I should have known.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's a water skier around here.
And she's married to a water skier, and to that whole cadre of athletes and all that stuff. Have you been on the water recently?
Oh, absolutely. I was on the water this past weekend, and I found out a couple weeks ago I was really fortunate to have been chosen. I'll be representing the Water Ski Federation at the Pan American Championships coming up in Mexico in the fall of this year. So I'll be out of clinic that week. We're still working on what's going to happen there. But yes, that's a really exciting opportunity to travel internationally with the water skiers.
Yeah, well, it's one of the few countries that the U.S. and Mexico can travel back and forth without a whole lot of restrictions. Mm-hmm. But that's a whole nother story. Well, that's truly an honor. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. You need anybody to hold your bag. Do you guys even carry those anymore?
I often do. Why? Because I need to have the splints. I need to have crutches. I've got a variety of equipment that I have to bring along with me. So it'd be a little hard to tote it all around individually.
So that was going to be part of my question. Is you're out there at these events? What exactly is your main role? Like, what are you looking for? What are you there for? Whenever you're out there?
So I often work with athletic trainers, mm-hmm. and athletic trainers are fantastic, as Dan Talbot can certainly attest to, and he's been, tooting the horn with me for the last few years in our area about the need for them. But the athletic trainers are fantastic. They get to know the athletes the best. I'm unfortunately, I'm stuck in clinic, right? While they're getting to know these athletes, and so what I do is I'm discerning what is the actual diagnosis. Mm-hmm. They're doing more of a triage of, should this go to urgent care, should this go to the ER, should this go home, or should this go to the office next week? Mm-hmm. They can do a really good job at triaging it. When I see those folks, we're managing what type of injury is this. Do we need to, again, helping to facilitate getting them to the ER, getting to them to the hospital if that's necessary, but also managing a lot of this stuff right there.
Well, I know you were before we came on air, Sam was quizzing Dr. Henne about the bare knuckle fighting championships at the RP Funding Center. That's a bit of pugilism, and to some degree.
It's a very intense event. But like you were saying, we had a great conversation before we came on air, because there's a lot of sometimes misconceptions about the sport as a whole and everything. But we just had it right here in the RP Funding Center. There's only very few states that the sport can take place, and we are one of those. But there's been some interesting research, at least so far, and what really the outcomes of that sport are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. The most interesting part, so Dr. Don Musi is the president of the Association for Ringside Physician. He lives in Florida, and he travels all around the country, and he's been following all types of combat medicine for many years. Great friend of mine, and he's been collecting the data. Why? Because bare knuckles has not been formally done, except for in the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. So everyone in these other states, they want to know, what type of injuries are you seeing? And at this point thus far, they're seeing about 29%, so 1/3. One in three of those athletes that are getting into the ring, which is circular, not square, interestingly enough, a little bit different from boxing, they are developing cuts. So these are lacerations, cuts that it creates a bloody mess, but certainly not, for the most part, something that's significantly dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Wow. You know, it's kind of an interesting sport, you know. We all kind of remember, you know, even pre-Jack Dempsey back in, you know, but in the 1800s, that was what was really more common. Mm-hmm. But as a sanctioned event now, what you're saying is that there's a lot of concern that, hey, these guys are really getting messed up, or have the potential to, 29%. Mm-hmm. You know, but mainly lacerations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is honestly, it's a lower number than I would even expect. You know, whenever you see it or something like that, you're thinking, I mean, almost every fight, 75%, a majority kind of. But even hearing a 30% or however, it's less than I would even assume.
Yeah, it's really not. It's not as much as you would expect. The amount of major injuries that you're seeing with it are less than some of the others that you might see with some of the other
mixed martial arts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they have for that the way that physician setup is done is they actually have 3 physicians for bare knuckles. So they have the 2
one for one boxer, one for another, and one for the referee.
Yeah, well, it's the cut doctor in the back,
okay.
And so that's what I was doing at the RP Funding Center, is just sewing people up. The first couple of fights you could watch comfortably, but after that you're pretty busy.
Pretty busy. Wow. Definitely a fun event.
Bring your sewing machine.
They did a great job, though, I'm assuming, out there at the RP Funding Center. They always do, but always great having you on.
Oh my goodness gracious. That went like
that. It was a great interview. It happens, before you know it, it's over.
That's a sign of a good interview.
Yep.
It really is. Mm-hmm. You go, oh, that's unbelievable. We could sit here we could do this for an hour.
Literally.
I got a lot of questions, but I can always see Michelle, on my way home if I have to.
On water skiing.
Every once in a while I'll see her at the wine bar. Teetotalers like me, but Michelle likes to tip a few every once in a while. I'm just teasing.
It's right downstairs, though.
Yeah,
certainly. It's an easy one for me to step in. Is Mark Jackson there? No, all right, I'll head home.
Man, she turned that one around really quick.
Really quick.
Must have check to see if I have a bullseye on my back. Hey, Michelle, thanks so much for joining. It was great. We got to get you back sooner than later, and that's on Sam now. So he will make sure that happens. But Releve Sports, it's in Winter Haven. It's right on Cypress Gardens Boulevard. And you want some world-class sports medicine, you go over and see that lady right there, because your reputation is second to none in the state of Florida, and we really appreciate you living here. And you can also watch your water ski if you want to down at the Lake Silver Park with the Cypress Gardens ski team.
Nice.
Yeah, so there you go. Michelle, thanks again. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you again real soon.
That sounds great.
Okay, thank you. Wow. That was like lightning fast.
You blinked.
Yeah.
And it was over.
Well, I'd like to have a nice segue or transition into the Youth Basketball of America National Championships, which, yes, we have held numerous of their events. And in fact, the largest Youth Basketball of America events in their history were held right here in Polk County. But we have some footage from a couple of events earlier this year. Make sure you check this out. Sam and Mark, we'll be back right after this.
YBOA is Youth Basketball Association of America, and it's a national organization. Florida has its region or its own, I guess, franchise of that, and I believe that's run by Jack Love.
They have nice venues and they take care of the kids. Some events you go to, they just get the kids ribbons and stuff. Jack Love gonna make sure they have trophies, MVP trophies, first team tournament. They take care of the kids, and that's what I'm all about.
It's one of the major sanctioned organizations for youth sports, especially youth basketball, and it's one of those organizations that I think does it the right way. The check-in and registration process is the right way. They're making sure that kids are competing on a very even level. So it's very similar to AAU, it's very similar to USSSA and programs like that.
This is my second year being at this event. We're from Lakeland, so it's all Polk County. So we know these gyms pretty good. So we always want to play at home where we're comfortable. So that was the first time we brought us out. And then our second time we brought us out, it was just we were familiar with this tournament. We liked it the first time we came, so we wanted to come back and enjoy it again. We plan to come every time they have an event. It's a local event, like I said, so it's easy to come. It's not too costly. So it's a pretty cheap tournament, but also it's a really, really good tournament. Like, there are a lot of teams in this tournament.
This would be one of the larger events. For instance, in our pool, I believe there are 12 teams or 9 teams, something in that range. So for a middle school event, this is one of the largest.
Like, usually when we go on tournaments, there are like maybe 4 or 5 teams in our age group. But for 6th grade, this tournament, it's always like 15 teams.
I think it's a great center, great facilities. The staff is very professional.
And I've always commented on how organized they are here at the facility. And the lady that's here that runs it, not much gets past her. She does a really good job. And they keep the facilities nice.
I've been coaching basketball now probably for 7 or 8 years. Obviously I play basketball. It's my passion, and this is my give back. I do it for the kids. We definitely want to make sure that we continue to give kids outlets for exercise, outlets for competition, and not just sitting in front of their video games or on their phones. So for me, this is my give back to make sure that the kids are getting some healthy interaction, and I do it through basketball.
It's all about the kids, because I have 10 kids on my team, but I usually keep 8. But the 8 that I've had them for like 6, 7 years now. So I've started young with them, and now all of them are in senior high now. I'm gonna take them all the way till they graduate. Like, I'll be coming back here probably next year. Well, I have 3 more years to come here because all my kids are in the 9th grade. And it's all about them.
Well, I happen to work in Polk County. My company, has a location here, so I spend a lot of time here. And I'll tell you, it's one of my favorite places in Central Florida.
I grew up in Polk County, so I know the talent we have here. I know everything we have here. I love. So I love when other teams come from out of town. And they usually give us good compliments. We love to come play Polk County basketball, so it's a pretty good event.
Welcome back to Sports Central, everybody. If you're just joining us, I'm Mark Jackson. To my right is and to your left, if you're directionally impaired from your TV set, that's Sam Baker over there. Thanks again. And wow, Michelle Henne, she's a handful.
She's a great guest. Always love having her on. Like we said, it's been too long. We'll have to get her on much sooner next time.
Yeah, and doctors always get hit up, especially sports medicine. Hey, doc, people see them out socially and this, that. Hey, I got a problem with this or I got a problem with that, and they are so skilled at saying, hey, look, here's my number. You give us a call, and then we'll set an appointment.
I'll do it on the clock.
Otherwise you're sitting there at some place, and the next thing you know, you got 10 people standing in line to get evaluated.
Oh, absolutely.
Ain't gonna happen.
Nope.
So,
but we want to go ahead and give a quick shout out though to Jimmy John's. Got to get that one in. Can't let that sit by. Love Jimmy John's. Great partner at Tourism and Sports Marketing now for 4 years. But love them.
Yeah, well, giving back to the community, and so we can't say enough about them. And of course, all of our partners that are involved in sports and making sure that sports and the sports industry is alive and well here in Polk County. Well, the guy that's more responsible for high school sports, middle school sports being alive and well in Polk County, his name is Dan Talbot. So it's a name synonymous with sports here in Polk, and Dan Glate? Man, I'm struggling today.
You get Talbot in the beginning, you get Glate now.
Hey, I've heard worse growing up with us, so. But always a pleasure to be here. Appreciate it, guys.
Well, we'll try to let Sam take a little bit of the reins here and give my tongue a rest and maybe my brain a bigger one. So it's been a long week.
Oh yeah. Well, obviously everything's kind of, as you said in the beginning, spring is starting to gear up, but we just had to finish with all of our winter sports. A successful, very successful winter season for state championships and everything. Kind of let's walk through a little bit of that. We had a state championship with Bartow, state championship with Lakeland Christian, and multiple individual state championships. It's been another, semi-banner year for Polk County once again.
Well, no one was more excited when, my birthday was March 7th, and people asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I told them winter sports ended when they were supposed to end. I got my birthday present because winter was difficult. Winter was a challenge a challenge dealing with COVID. But like you said, with the teams in Polk County, obviously with Lakeland Christian winning girls soccer, I mean, I don't oversee them, but they're a private school. But being involved in sports, what they went through, and when I walked in and saw them, I was like, finally, congratulations, because I knew they've been knocking on the door for them, and it's an exciting moment for them and those kids. And obviously, Lake Gibson wrestling in the duels. Bartow cheerleading, boys basketball went back to back. You don't see that very often, Lakeland cheerleading has gone 3 in a row now, so there's high expectations there. And then, I mean, how can you forget Emily Hart? She's the first ever state champion in girls weightlifting in the history of Polk County at Auburndale. So
what weight did she compete in?
I think she was 119, the small one. She's tiny, but she is strong. I could not believe it.
She benched like 150.
Yeah, and her technique is, she knew she won the state title before they even did the power clean, because, she had it wrapped up. She just did her minimum, and, her technique is flawless, and congratulations to her. But, just thinking about being the first ever with the rich tradition of sports Polk County has to offer at all different levels, but to go out of high school knowing that you're the first one ever.
That's unreal.
Yeah, that's fantastic stuff. Well, I know you're chomping at the bit to get into the spring stuff. Dan, how does it look?
Yeah.
Spring, we're off to a pretty good start in spring. Today's our I'll be headed over to the boys Polk County weightlifting championships. We're doing those today at Auburndale. We've kind of had our COVID protocols. We did the weigh-ins last night, which I know the kids were excited about, because then they could cut weight on Thursday and then go home, go to Golden Corral or something afterwards and eat. Go to Jimmy John's, actually, probably, and then.
Hey, there it is. He's got it down.
And eat and lift today. But we're excited for baseball. The challenge with COVID, it seemed like our indoor sports were more difficult to get a handle on with COVID, and our outdoor sports. I just remember in the summer going, how are we going to do football? And once we got into fall sports, volleyball was our biggest issue with fall sports. So now that the spring sports are predominantly outside, we're excited, and we're looking forward to baseball and softball. I know Bartow has an unbelievable freshman pitcher. I'm excited to see her pitch. And then Auburndale, really, their baseball team's doing great, and Lakeland, Butcher at Lakeland's phenomenal, and so it's going to be an exciting spring for us.
Yeah. Now, did those all start around the same time as they usually do, and they'll end around the same time?
They started right on time that they were supposed to start, right after the Christmas holidays, and we're actually towards the end of spring, really, right now, because we'll go into our spring break next week, and then we'll come back, we'll start our district tournaments and our county tennis tournament. But spring sports have started on time, and you know, and obviously there's no blow-ups from spring break with COVID. We should end on time, and I think that was the key. You know, with winter sports, I think was difficult, because I think a lot of the winter coaches were worried about finishing the season, and in my mind, I was trying to figure out how can we manage winter, because we got to have a spring season, because we had barely a spring last year, and that was my goal and focus. Like, what can we do to ensure we got to have a spring sports season? No matter what we do, if anything, we got to make sure those student athletes that missed out on last year don't face that again.
Yeah.
Well, you know, this is digressing just a little bit, but it's like coaching. You know coaching, and you know athletics. But it takes a long time to develop a really good athlete, and it takes a long time to develop a really good coach. You just don't walk on the field and all of a sudden, you know, you're Bill Belichick or Vince Lombardi. It doesn't happen. And I think with this COVID thing, you know, and I mentioned that there were some good things that came out of COVID, and arguably quite a few good things, but not to downplay the seriousness and the negative and the deaths and all of that type of stuff. But now you have a game plan. We all have a game plan. We know what it's like to go through the fire. We know what it's like and you know what it's like to have to manage that. Do you feel in your heart that makes you better prepared for potential future? Because we got to look at the future. You know, you can't just go, oh, if we don't learn from the past, we're going to destined to repeat the future, or we don't learn from the past, we're destined to repeat it.
I agree. I mean, and that's what I told people, and I told our athletic directors, and then the athletic directors from around the state, and then, you know, this was a nationwide, you know, problem, and we've gotten together, and the one thing we kept reminding ourselves, we're writing the playbook for future generations. I mean, our COVID protocol athletic manual is 70 pages thick. I mean, it's a book, and people don't want to read it. And the nice thing is, I'll go back this summer, and I updated it as I went, as we changed it. We started at 50% capacity. We downgraded to 25%, and we'll finish that through this school year. And if things stay on the downward trend, we'll look to open at 100% capacity in the fall, which would be fantastic. But we wrote the playbook for our future, and I think, and we should be very proud of that. Even, I mean, and it's not just athletics, it's in, you know, the whole dynamic of schools changed and how we did things. And so it's interesting, you know, doing school online is probably going to be a part of it. If a student gets suspended from school, well, they're not going to miss out on instruction because they can take a laptop home and, you know, do some different things. But we wrote the playbook to prepare. You know, I hope I never have to go through it again, but if we do, you know, at least because we had no one to call. No one to say, how do you do this? And, you know, so we were fortunate enough to be a part of that history-making process, and hopefully it doesn't happen. But if it does, you know, at least we have a foundation to where we can start and what we did. And the key is to look back at what we did and to tweak and manage some of the things that we felt worked really well or did not work as well. And I think what we don't want to make the mistake is close the book, COVID's over, and forget about it. I think we do need to spend some time this summer reviewing it and really tweaking it. That way we are prepared for that foundation if something like this does happen again.
Well, you know, and it's interesting, and again, it's sort of digressing just a wee bit, but I was talking to Ron Morrow passed away, he's one of our Hall of Famers. Ron Myers, the other day, I was at the Yankees-Tigers game, you know, and I'm looking out at a field, and everything looks the same there. And I'm looking at the stands, I'm looking at the berm. There's 2,000 people in the entire facility, 2,000. And during a Yankees game, traditionally, you're looking at 10,000 plus. So it's less than 25%. Well, to be exact, 20% of what capacity would normally be for a Yankees game. And, you know, Major League Baseball is being very, very cautious. You're dealing with multi-million-dollar-a-year players. and all of this type of thing. But I think that at some point you've got to pull the trigger and say, hey, life goes on. And I think you guys have done a marvelous, I mean, I don't know of any school district that's done a better job than you in Polk County. Well, and we see them all.
Well, if you think about it, you look at when we shut down last year, you know, it was just a year anniversary of when we shut it down.
Yep.
And you looked at our numbers then compared to our numbers when we were actually participating. The good thing about it, I don't think we'd have a shutdown again, because at that moment in time when we had no idea what COVID was and the effects and how we were going to manage it is why we shut down. But now that we have the foundation and the game plan, I don't think we could say, oh, we got this, there's a virus out there that's very similar to COVID. You know, let's find all our hand sanitizer, let's wear masks, let's reduce our attendance. We can do some things to possibly avoid the shutdown. We've already set up to manage school to a virtual setting. So I think we're better off prepared now than we've ever been. But as long as we stay attuned to those, we'll be better off for our future.
Yeah, well, certainly a testament to your leadership and ability to look to the future, to plan ahead, to deal with the current situation, and then not forget the past, you know, and so we all move forward. That's good stuff. Well, you know, Dan, really appreciate it. I know you're one of the busiest guys in Polk County, and taking time out is greatly appreciated.
Always a pleasure.
And the insights are always good. That's I know Sam was chomping at the bit. I think he got to about 1/10 of his questions, but we'll bring you back for some more.
Well, I'll bring up a quick point. Like yesterday, Ron Myers talked about how some of the things they did for the Major League Baseball was because of allowing us to have graduations there. So it's amazing how we're all working together for the common goal and the good. I mean, you got Major League Baseball and the Detroit Tigers saying, because we allowed the Polk County High School graduations in our stadium, we had a sense of our plan to present to Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I say this, I've said it for years, you know, that we have a team in Polk County that starts at the top, the county commissioners, our county manager, Bill Beasley, tourism and sports marketing, athletic department, and all of this type of stuff that, and many, many more that work together as a team. Here's our goals, and we're going to hit every single one of them. But it's going to take some solid planning and real talent out there. And the talent I'm talking about isn't necessarily financial. It's resources. It isn't necessarily financial. It's human. And that's the difference. So, Dan, thanks again.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Greatly appreciate it. Well, everyone, yep, it's that time of year. Spring is sprung, or will spring tomorrow, the 20th. Hope I get that right. I hope it's not the 21st. But anyway, you know, as it's been the way the show's gone, for at least for me. But IRONMAN, that's a big one. We've held that here in Polk County, recruited it, held it here for a long time, going on 10 years, and do that at the Lake Eva Center in Haines City. We have some great footage from the IRONMAN. It is coming up again in April. Make sure you check that out. But for now, rest assured you're going to see the best of the best at IRONMAN 2019. Check it out. Sam and Mark. We'll be back right after this.
Today is the Haines City 70.3 half Ironman. So it's 1.2 mile swim, 56 mile bike ride, and a half marathon in the hills of Henne City.
I am from Katy, Texas. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and Henne City is actually a really nice city. I was kind of surprised, to be honest, just because I don't hear much about it.
Henne City's doing great. They're amazing. They treat us well. It's a great venue. I mean, like I said, you just can't beat it. I mean, with the location like this, making it spectator friendly, it might be the best event on, I would say, from a family perspective, where they can keep up with their athlete, and Henne City's just awesome.
The people is amazing, the support, the town, and the run, the three-loop run, the people were amazing.
This is the only course that actually has an MDOT basically swim course. So it's basically just due to the depth of the water for safety for athletes, for boats to be able to get to those certain athletes. If it was a higher, water, we had a lot of rain, then it possibly we could do an out and back. But with this, we create an MDOT. It is a little confusing, but once the athletes get to do the practice swim and feel it out, it's pretty easy.
I've been training for like 3 months specifically for this race, and I just swim, bike, and run a lot every day.
This is my second half Ironman. I've done quite a few triathlons. I'm mostly a marathoner, and I'm doing the Chattanooga Ironman in September.
I didn't specifically train for this race. Some of us all raced last weekend, but this is just a stepping stone for me on the way to Ironman Vineman at the end of July.
Well, I trained for every half Ironman. This for me was a race to measure how I'll be doing on my half this year. I'm planning to go to Australia to the 70.3 World Championship, and this was a training race, although I tapered. And well, I train every week between 15 and 20 hours.
Well, the bike course was really tough, more than some of the races have been, but it was a really nice race.
You know what, I really like the crowd support on the run. I could tell that the stations really were committed to cheering everyone on as we suffered through. It made it worthwhile. They're really helpful.
My favorite part of the race, it was the bike, especially. I love the course, I love the big hills. It's very challenging, I like it. And also the run was really good too.
My favorite part of the race was the bike. Amazing hills, very safe. I love this race. I will come back for sure next year.
Everybody, welcome back to Sports Central. Mark Jackson along with Sam Baker. And if you want to know more about the Ironman event coming up in April, you can go to Polk County Sports Marketing.com. No, Central Florida Sports.
CentralFloridaSports.com. Yep.
You know, you would think this has been a long, long week.
Oh well, but we have a great guest and a great sponsor too, the Ledger. Great partners of tourism and sports marketing. Always thankful for everything that they do over there.
Well, I just asked one of our next guests, Ramsey Watkins, if she was smart, a smart kid, and the reason that came to mind is just got done judging the Silver Garlands, the Ledger Silver Garlands, which is academic excellence in certain disciplines, like it could be history, it could be civics, but my category is athletics.
Yeah.
So we had some of the best and the brightest of Polk County, and I can't figure out why she isn't there, because she said she's like a genius. She's a brain.
Well, thank you guys so much. If we haven't introduced them already,
go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin Wasilewski and Ramsey Watkins. I'll mess that up too.
I think it's contagious.
But, it's bad. I'm too close to you now. But Lakeland Christian girls soccer. Thank you guys so much. Finally, state champions. It's been a long time, but how does that feel finally?
It's an unbelievable feeling. Jason and I have been working at this 17 years together. We've had tremendous teams over the years, and finally to push it to win that final game, to be one of the 6 teams who ended with the victory this year, was pretty special, with a special group of girls.
I honestly still have chills thinking about it. Like, thank God.
Because you've been there for a really, really, really long time, like on the team, playing for how many years now?
7.
5?
I've been there since 6th grade. So
Unreal.
7, yes. It is
smart.
Yeah, she's a smart kid. So, took her 5 of those years to get through 9th grade.
well, honestly though, 5 of those years were in the championships, right?
There you go. There's your segue.
Yep.
So, what was different about this year? You have 10 years consecutively making it to the Final Four. 5 of those being in the championship game, and this is the one that finally happens. What was different?
I feel like this one was more of the mentality. We were like, this is our year, like we're gonna do it, like, and then we all like had a game plan, like we were gonna come out and we were gonna score. That's never been done in school history. We've never scored in a final match, and we did. We scored 4 times.
Yeah, I had a great chance to talk to your head coach, Jason Streets, last night on our Sports Central radio show, as you affectionately call it, the ugly sister show of Sports Central. But yeah, he mentioned the same thing. He said there was just something about the leadership within the team. And you guys were going to come out and do what had never been done. And he said that after that first goal, he started to just feel the emotion, because in his 17 years as coach, never has anyone even scored in that game, let alone finally win it. So truly an amazing accomplishment.
4 goals.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. So after the first goal, give us a little bit of, what was it like, on the team, and hey, we got our first one, we are going to rock.
Keep going.
We were on.
I had to check what I was going to say.
We were on such like a high. We were like, oh my gosh, like we just scored. Like we actually can win this, and it was just so like amazing. And then we ended up winning. I feel like that's just where it came from, was the first goal.
Yeah. So I kind of heard from our conversation last night that there was kind of a mental advantage by playing. Who's the opponent? American Heritage, or
we played American Heritage in the final.
American Heritage in the final, but the potential game was against who? Because that was the one that it never seemed to click against them.
It was St. John's Country Day has won 10 state championships in a row in Class 2A. They've been undefeated various times. They've won 80 in a row.
Wow.
And that was our big hurdle. Like Ramsey said, we could compete with them defensively. Offensively, they were better than us. We didn't score against them in 4 finals, basically. So coming into this season, we returned 10 of 11 starters. We had 2 girls, one moved in from Colorado, Carly Savitt came in, a tremendous player, and that gave us that extra offensive punch that we needed. And we really felt this year offensively, we were one of the top teams in the state offensively, and we still had the solid defense, midfield, and goalkeeper. And we played Montverde earlier in the year. Montverde, a perennial national champion. They came to play us back in January, and it was a 2-1 match. We actually had to lead on them. And when we competed with Montverde, we felt we could play with anybody in the state. And it was a great test for us going into the playoff run.
I know that you're number 10.
Yes.
Okay.
I am.
So what position do you play normally? And what did you play in the state championships?
In the state championship, I played center back, and then I played as attacking mid, holding mid, and that's where I like to play. That's like my favorite position.
What was the phrase you used off air? You were small but mighty.
Yeah, like I'm only like 5'2", so I don't look intimidating, but I will
mighty.
get you off the ball.
You got some pipes, right?
Just a little bit.
We are not the biggest team.
We really aren't.
Our probably average height is 5'3" or 5'4".
Wow.
Really?
I would put our speed against anybody in the state. We're the fastest team that I've seen play.
Yeah.
And the girls have a lot of fight in them.
Well, it's like, and not to always use a football analogy, but it's an easy one. The Denver Broncos, during their Super Bowl, they won 2 back-to-back. Unfortunately, one of them was against Green Bay. But the fact of the matter is their defense wasn't that big, but they were super fast. And so there's a lot to be said for speed and agility versus, brawn and muscling it out and that type of stuff. Yeah. So I think that's a good move.
And it's also a testament to coaching. Whenever you play to your advantages and you game plan for what you're good at, and you take that speed and you do the best you can with it. And obviously you all did as great as you could in finally taking it. So kind of walk us through at least that final minute of that game. You're up finally 4-2. You're up by 2 goals with a couple minutes left in the game. It's basically over. So how's that emotion? The final whistle blows. What's going through your head?
Relief. We're still trying to lock it down to finish those final couple of minutes. Jason is usually at the other end of the bench. He was on our defensive end. And really my focus, we had one of our top seniors dislocate a shoulder back in early December. And this was going to be her last game. She couldn't play. And I talked to Jaden before the game, Jaden Bays, a tremendous athlete, going to Bowling Green to play. And with about a minute left, I said, Jaden, we're going to put you in. You're going to celebrate with your teammates.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of going on to Bowling Green, let's jump back over, Ramsey, to you. Now you're going to Lakeland Christian.
Yep.
Okay, and your college career begins where?
Southeastern University.
Fire.
Yep.
You're going to be on fire, and you're going to play soccer?
Yes, I am.
Well, that's fantastic. That's a great school.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah.
I've already met my class, and they're amazing, absolutely amazing. And some of them are from internationally, like Sweden, and I've never played with somebody from international. I'm so excited.
Now, have you played a lot of club, growing up and everything?
Yes.
Is that kind of a lot of your kids do play club on your team?
We do. Between the JV and varsity, we have over 30 girls playing, and I think all but one play club soccer. Wow. So we have a kind of nice pipeline. And it's something we need to manage too. I mean, club a lot of times is their priority, and we get that. So we want to work with their club coaches and their parents to make sure they're doing the right things for their daughters or sons for the boys team.
I think there's a lot to be said for that, because if that loyalty and dedication is to the club, it tells you a lot about somebody's character, and when you have that ability or that willingness to work as a team, to get along as a team, that's the type of teammate that you want on your team.
Yeah.
And of course soccer is a little bit different, but overall, you happy with the way Lakeland Christian performed on the athletic field, not just soccer this year? You think that
we have a great, our administration's awesome, our parents are so supportive of us, and to have 20 individuals that when we start right after Labor Day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 o'clock in the morning, and you get 28 to 30 girls out of your program coming to run before school, that's dedication. And you knew at that time that this is a special group, the work they put in. And years past, I know in high school, you'll miss kids at practice at all the schools. You may plan for 18 kids at practice and 14 show up. This year, every single practice, we had every single girl, unless they were injured. So the dedication that they had, we felt it would pay off.
And that's going to take them far because that's how it is in college. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's phenomenal. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. This
is
great.
State
champions. Yeah. That is tremendous. First time for Lakeland Christian, and can't say how proud we are of the school, what you guys stand for as a school, as well as your accomplishments on the athletic field, or the field of athletics. Thrill of victory, but not the agony of defeat this year. That's something you'd never remember. Kevin does.
Yes.
Wide world of sports. ABC kind of a tagline that they use for years and years and years. So anyway, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, speaking of another young superstar, I'm going to talk about his parents first. I can't remember their names. I just ran a blank.
Is the last name Berglund?
Yeah, Eric and Valerie Berglund. He sired, I guess. I don't know what the correct term is there. A young man by the name of Brett Berglund. He's a young skier with the Cypress Gardens ski team. Maybe a future boyfriend of Ramsey over here. I don't know. But we have some great footage from the Cypress Gardens ski team, and of course Brett Berglund, family original from the UP of Michigan, also called Youpers. So check out Brett Berglund, upcoming superstar with the Cypress Gardens ski team. Action's great. We hope you think it is too. Mark and Sam, I am. We'll be back right after this. Man, if this gets any worse, I don't know what I'm going to just poke myself in the eye with a sharp stick, I guess. I don't know. But enjoy the footage, everybody. We'll be back.
Both my parents have been skiing since they were kids up in Iron Mountain for Badwater Skeeters, and they moved down here to start skiing for the old Cypress Gardens, and I've just been skiing ever since I've been born, ever since I can remember. Well, I jump, I barefoot, I started to do pyramids. I did pyramids up in Michigan for Badwater. I love jumping, it's just so fun. Like the adrenaline, everything. It's awesome. There's 5.5 foot ramp, go over it, just like you're on your bike, or snow skiing, kinda. And it's come down, land on the water, hopefully. Ski away, hopefully. During the school year, I'm normally up about 5:30, get to school, get it over with. And, you know, I get home, I do my homework, I ski a little bit, go to ski practice. Water skiing, it'll definitely be there well after college, and yeah, and I'm hoping to move up to Michigan, be an engineer and ski up there for Badwater and just live my life out up there.
Welcome back to Laughing, everybody. No, just kidding. This is Sports Central. I'm Mark Jackson and
Sam
Baker. Sam, I am. I was looking for you to say something, and you didn't take the bait. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, yeah, we're definitely thankful for Spring Hill Suites, if that's what you were getting at.
That's what I was getting at, but that's
very appreciative for their partnership and their sponsorship of this segment of Sports Central.
Yeah, doing real well. In fact, it's really interesting to watch the tourism industry and the sports industry really kicked it off. Back in June, when things started opening up, Polk County was the first one out of the gate, and it's made a difference ever since. But tourism is coming back, and it's the lifeblood of our economy here in Florida. By far, the state's #1 industry, and so much of that are these sporting events that are literally pumping tens of millions of dollars back into the community with new money that's coming in. So, you got to count your blessings. It's through the tough times, through everything. You just got to be grateful that we are where we are. And speaking of which, we did our sponsor.
Yeah, Spring Hill, which, speaking of, you started talking a little bit about everything opening up, and Spring Hill actually being one of the newest accommodations in Polk County, right there in front of the RP Funding Center. And got a chance actually to visit them yesterday and see that facility, and it is an amazing hotel property they have out there.
Pretty good complementary effect between Spring Hill and the Lakeland Center and the Hyatt.
Yep. Yeah. There's a
or
great
Lakeland Center. The
RP Funding Center. Yep.
Yeah.
It's a great complementary property and adds more rooms because the more that we can offer closer to RP Funding Center, the better. Obviously, the easier it is to promote RP Funding Center to people. It just makes it even more competitive when you're out in the extremely competitive market of sports anyways.
Well, that works really well because at the RP Funding Center, coming up this weekend, the 19th and the 20th, well, actually starting today, the 19th, 20th, and the 21st, because the 21st they have like a poker run type of a deal, and then they have a movie night. They go to the Silver Moon Drive-In on Saturday night.
Drive-In.
What event am I talking about? That just happens to be one of the largest car shows in the country, at least when it comes to VWs, and that is the Lakeland VW Classic. And we had Eddie Varela on our last show. Great guy, and gives so much back to the community, back to the kids. I've never been disappointed in the results that they produce with this event. And
Absolutely.
Eddie's commitment to kids and to families. It is such a great, wholesome family event, lots of giveaways. And again, that's coming up March 19th through Sunday, the 21st, this coming weekend, if you're watching us live. Make sure you check that out. Over 40 different clothes, and I think they've had up to 1,000 Volkswagens.
Yeah.
1,000.
And they do you can walk up and register on site, so on the day of. So there are plenty of opportunities out there. Plenty more events, too, that are going on within the next coming weeks.
Where can people find out about that?
At centralfloridasports.com. Check that. Click that events tab. You'll see everything that we have there. But we got to thank our fantastic sponsors here for Sports Central, The Ledger, Party Rentals Unlimited, People's Barbecue, the Cabana Club RV Resort, and the Staybridge Suites.
Just out at the Cabana Club yesterday for a 2-hour meeting, but they are rocking. If you really want to see a first-class RV resort, and when I say resort,
truly,
it's a first-class resort. It's unbelievable. Make sure you check that out. Don't forget our sister show, our ugly sister show on WLKF, and the call letters are
96.7 and Talk 1430 AM.
There you go. And that's every Thursday from 5 to 6, one of Polk County's, actually one of Central Florida's most popular shows during drive time. Hey everybody, our next live show is going to be April 9th, so make sure you check it out, check us out. We'll be back then. Hope to see you then. We'll be back. Bigger, better, and with more guests.
And more guests, and hopefully a little more, we'll be more straight. I don't know how to say that.
We've had a fun show here. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you again.